I woke up in a hospital bed with the worst headache of my life, and the first face I saw wasn't a doctor. It was Danielle Morrison, my high school bully, the girl who made my life miserable for 4 years. And apparently, I had listed her as my emergency contact. Not my mom, not my best friend, her. The universe has a twisted sense of humor, and I was about to discover that sometimes the people we hate the most are exactly who we need. If you want to hear how this disaster turned into the most unexpected second chance either of us ever got, subscribe to this channel for more stories that will make you believe in life's beautiful coincidences. I opened my eyes to the sterile white ceiling of a hospital room, my head pounding like someone was using it as a drum. The fluorescent lights above made everything blur into a nauseating haze. I tried to remember what happened. One moment I was crossing the street in downtown Seattle. The next, nothing but darkness. "She's awake," a voice said. That voice. I knew that voice. I turned my head slowly, and there she was. Danielle Morrison, standing by the window with her arms crossed, looking exactly like she did in high school. Blonde hair, sharp features, that same expression of mild annoyance. Except now she was wearing scrubs. Hospital scrubs. "What are you doing here?" I croaked, my throat dry. "You got hit by a car," she said flatly. "A delivery truck, actually. You're lucky you're alive. Broken ribs, concussion, some lacerations. You'll be fine, but you need to stay for observation." I stared at her, my brain struggling to process this nightmare. "Why are you here? Where's my mom?" Danielle's expression softened slightly. "Your emergency contact was listed as me. The paramedics called," I answered, "and here we are. Your mom is on her way from Portland, but she won't be here until tonight." Of course this was happening. I had filled out that emergency contact form at work 6 months ago, and in a moment of spite, because I was angry at my mom for something stupid, I had put down the first name that came to mind, Danielle's name. We had reconnected on social media a few months before, and I thought it was funny at the time. A joke. A way to prove that I had moved on from high school, that her bullying didn't matter anymore. Joke was on me. "This is insane," I muttered, closing my eyes. "This is absolutely insane." "Tell me about it," Danielle said, and I heard the faintest hint of amusement in her voice. "I got a call from Seattle General Hospital at 2 p.m. on a Tuesday, asking me to confirm my relationship to Arya Chen. I thought it was a scam. Despite everything, the pain, the shock, the absolute horror of the situation, I felt a laugh bubble up in my chest. It hurt. Everything hurt. But I laughed anyway. "I'm sorry," I said, opening my eyes again. "I know this is weird. I can call someone else. My friend Jessica." "It's fine," Danielle interrupted. "I'm here now. And honestly, you look like you could use someone to make sure you don't do anything stupid while you're on painkillers." That was when I noticed something different about her. She wasn't the same Danielle who had made fun of my clothes in the hallway, who had spread rumors about me, who had made high school feel like a prison sentence. This Danielle looked tired. Genuinely tired. Like she had been carrying something heavy for a long time. "You work here?" I asked. "Nurse," she said. "Been working in this hospital for 3 years. I went to community college after high school, got my RN, and never looked back." I didn't know what to say to that. The girl who had bullied me was now a nurse. She was saving lives. She was helping people. The irony was so thick I could choke on it. "Listen," Danielle said, pulling a chair closer to my bed. "I know this is awkward. Trust me, I'm not thrilled about it either. But you're hurt, and you need someone here. So I'm going to sit with you until your mom arrives. And we're going to get through this like adults. Deal. I looked at her for a long moment, searching her face for any sign of the girl I used to know. But all I saw was a woman in her late 20s, with kind eyes and a genuine concern that seemed completely out of place in this scenario. Deal, I said finally. The next morning, I woke to find Danielle asleep in the chair beside my bed, her head tilted at an uncomfortable angle. She had stayed all night. My mom had arrived around 9 p.m., and after a tearful reunion and a conversation with the doctors, she had gone to get coffee. Danielle had offered to stay with me, and apparently she had meant it. I studied her face while she slept. Without the sharp expression she usually wore, she looked younger, softer, almost vulnerable. "Stop staring at me," she mumbled, her eyes still closed. "It's creepy." I jumped, nearly knocking over the water pitcher on my bedside table. "I wasn't—" "You were," she said, opening one eye. "But it's okay. I'm used to people staring at me, usually with hatred in their eyes, but I'll take what I can get." There was something in her tone that made me pause, something raw and honest that I hadn't expected. "Why did you bully me?" I asked suddenly. "In high school. Why me specifically?" Danielle sat up, rubbing her face. She was quiet for a long time, and I thought she wasn't going to answer. Then she sighed. "Because you were everything I wasn't," she said finally. "You were smart without trying. You had friends who actually liked you. You didn't care what people thought. And I was a mess. My parents were getting divorced. My dad had just lost his job, and I was angry all the time. So I took it out on people like you, people who seemed to have it all figured out." I didn't know what to say. This was not the answer I had been expecting. "I am not making excuses," she continued. "What I did was wrong. I was cruel, and I hurt you, and I've regretted it for years. I tried to apologize once, senior year, but you wouldn't talk to me. So I just let it go. Tried to be better, tried to become someone who wouldn't do that to another person." "Why didn't you try harder?" I asked. "Why didn't you reach out again?" "Because I figured you had moved on," she said. "And honestly, I wasn't sure I deserved your forgiveness. Some things you do in life, you just have to live with. You have to accept that you hurt someone and that they might never forgive you. And you have to be okay with that." The doctor came in then, interrupting our conversation. He checked my vitals, asked me how I was feeling, and told me I could probably go home in a couple of days if everything continued to improve. Danielle stepped out to give us privacy, and when she came back, she was carrying 2 cups of coffee. "Thought you might want this," she said, handing me one. "Hospital coffee is terrible, but it's better than nothing." We sat in silence for a while, drinking our coffee. Outside the window, Seattle was going about its business. Cars honked, people walked by with their phones in their hands. The world continued to turn. But in this small hospital room, something was shifting. Something was changing between us. "Thank you," I said quietly, "for staying, for being here." "You're welcome," Danielle replied. "And for what it's worth, I'm glad you're okay. I know that sounds weird coming from me, but I mean it." By the 3rd day in the hospital, Danielle had become a fixture in my room. She would come by after her shifts, bringing me books and snacks and stories about the ridiculous things that happened in the emergency room. She made me laugh, even when it hurt my ribs. She helped me to the bathroom when I needed to go. She was kind in a way that seemed completely genuine. My mom had gone back to Portland after the first night, satisfied that I was in good hands. She had even thanked Danielle, which had made Danielle blush furiously. "Your mom is nice," Danielle said one evening, as we were watching the sunset from my hospital window. "She is," I agreed. "She always liked you, actually. She used to ask me why we couldn't be friends." "Why couldn't we?" Danielle asked. "Because you were horrible to me," I said, but there was no anger in my voice anymore, just a statement of fact. "I was," Danielle acknowledged, "but I'm not that person anymore. I haven't been for a long time." I turned to look at her. "How did you change? How did you go from being that girl to this?" Danielle was quiet for a moment. "Therapy," she said finally. "A lot of therapy, and time. And realizing that the anger I was carrying around wasn't helping anyone, least of all me. I went to college, I made new friends, I found a job that actually meant something to me. And somewhere along the way, I became someone I could actually respect." "I'm proud of you," I said, and I meant it. I know that's weird to say, but I am. Danielle's eyes got shiny. "Don't make me cry at work," she said, laughing. "My coworkers already think I'm weird for spending so much time in your room." "What do they think we are?" I asked, curious. "I have no idea," Danielle said. "Some of them think we're old friends. Some of them think we're dating. One of them asked if you were my secret girlfriend, and I almost died." I laughed so hard I had to grab my ribs. "That's hilarious." "Right?" Danielle grinned. "I told him we were mortal enemies in high school, and now we're trying to figure out if we can actually be friends. He said that sounded like a rom-com." "Doesn't it, though?" I said. And then I froze. Had I really just said that out loud? Danielle froze too. "Are you saying you want to be friends?" she asked carefully. "I don't know," I admitted. "A week ago, if you had told me I'd be spending time with you voluntarily, I would have laughed. But you've been really great. And I feel like I don't really know who you are anymore. I feel like maybe I never did." "So what do you want to do?" Danielle asked. "I want to get out of this hospital," I said. "And then I want to get coffee with you. Real coffee, not hospital coffee. And I want to talk about our lives and figure out if we can actually be friends, or if this is just some weird trauma bonding situation." Danielle smiled. "I can work with that." 2 weeks later, I was back in my apartment, moving slowly and carefully, but finally feeling like myself again. Danielle had helped me get home from the hospital, and she had stayed for a few hours to make sure I had everything I needed. We had gone out for coffee 3 times since I got home. Real coffee, at a cute little cafe in Capitol Hill. We had talked about our lives, our dreams, our failures. Danielle told me about her ex-boyfriend, who had cheated on her, and I told her about the startup I had been working on that had failed spectacularly. We laughed about our high school days, and Danielle apologized again, more sincerely this time. And I forgave her, truly forgave her. But there was something else happening too, something that neither of us wanted to acknowledge. On our 4th coffee date, Danielle was nervous. She kept fidgeting with her cup, and she wouldn't quite meet my eyes. "What's wrong?" I asked. "Nothing's wrong," she said. I need to tell you something, and I'm terrified you're going to think I'm crazy." My heart started racing. "Okay." "I think I have feelings for you," Danielle blurted out. "And I know that's insane, and I know we just started being friends, and I know you probably don't feel the same way. But I couldn't not tell you. I've been thinking about you constantly, and not in a I feel guilty for bullying you way, but in a I think you're amazing, and I want to spend all my time with you way." I stared at her. You're serious? Completely serious, she said miserably. I'm sorry. I know this ruins everything. We can just forget I said anything, and we can go back to being friends and— Danielle, I interrupted. I think I have feelings for you too. She looked up at me, her eyes wide. Really? Really, I said. I didn't want to admit it because it seemed too crazy. But yeah, I do. Danielle reached across the table and took my hand. So what do we do now? I don't know, I said honestly. This is completely unprecedented. We're supposed to be enemies. We're supposed to hate each other. But we don't, Danielle said softly. No, I agreed. We don't. 6 months later, I was standing in my apartment, looking at myself in the mirror. I was wearing a blue dress that Danielle had helped me pick out, and my hair was curled just right. In the living room, Danielle was pacing nervously, checking her phone every 30 seconds. Are you sure about this? She asked for the 100th time. I'm sure, I said, coming out of the bedroom. Are you? Completely sure, she said, and then she kissed me. I'm just nervous. What if they judge us? What if they think it's weird? Then they can deal with it, I said. I don't care what anyone thinks. I love you, and you love me, and that's all that matters. We had invited our friends over for dinner. My best friend Jessica, Danielle's co-workers, a few people from our college days. We were going to tell them that we were together, that we had gone from mortal enemies to something neither of us had expected. The evening was a success. Jessica screamed when we told her, then demanded to know every detail of how it happened. Danielle's co-workers were delighted, especially the one who had suggested we were living in a rom-com. Everyone was happy for us, and no one thought it was weird. Well, maybe a little weird, but in a good way. Later, after everyone had left and we were cleaning up the kitchen together, Danielle pulled me close. Thank you, she said. For what? I asked. For listing me as your emergency contact, she said. For getting hit by that car. I'm glad you're grateful for my near-death experience, I laughed. I'm serious, she said. If that hadn't happened, we would have gone our whole lives without ever really knowing each other. We would have stayed stuck in high school, in our roles as bully and victim. But instead, we got a second chance. We got to become something better. I thought about that for a moment. About how life works in mysterious ways. About how the worst moments can sometimes lead to the best outcomes. About how people can change, and how forgiveness is possible. And how sometimes the person you're supposed to end up with is the last person you would ever expect. You know what's funny? I said. What? Danielle asked. I need to update my emergency contact, I said. I should probably put my mom back on there. Danielle laughed. Or you could put me on there permanently. You know, for the next time you get hit by a car. Let's hope there isn't a next time, I said. Agreed, Danielle said. But if there is, I'll be there. And I knew she meant it. I knew that whatever came next, whatever challenges we faced, we would face them together. Because sometimes life gives you a second chance with the person you least expect it from. Sometimes the universe has a sense of humor that's actually pretty beautiful. Standing there in our kitchen, with Danielle's arms around me and the city lights twinkling outside our window, I realized something. I had spent 4 years hating this girl. 4 years carrying around anger and resentment. And in the end, all it took was one accident, one hospital stay, and one honest conversation to change everything. Life is funny that way. Thank you so much for listening to this story all the way to the end. If you enjoyed Aria and Danielle's journey from enemies to lovers, Please subscribe to this channel for more incredible stories about second chances, unexpected connections, and the beautiful ways life can surprise us. Hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next story.